moves in. You need a home that will grow with you and your family. The Next Gen Home by Lennar has a separate private living space with a bathroom, kitchenette, and entrance all its own, but still connected to the rest of the house. It's a home within a home. New models now open in the Central Valley. To learn more, visit a Lennar Welcome Home Center near you or visit lennar.com.
So darn glad he let me try it again. Cause the last time I lived a whole world of sin. So glad that I know more than I know then. Gonna keep on trying till I reach the higher ground.
I had to lift my hands on that. I heard him say, till I reach the higher ground.
The coolest of the cool, the Jay Smith Group with us through the show. And now,
Yes.
meet Zach Scow and Hooch.
Yes.
We're doing great. Can you catch us, Chris?
Zach is with Marley's Mutts, and we have Hooch here.
We do. I think we'll be able to introduce him for about a minute and a half.
Okay, and then we can
while
put him
he,
down. Yeah, that's fine.
Hooch is famous.
Oh, he's adorable.
So this is Hooch. He came from the Kern County Animal Shelter a year and a half ago. So we rescued him in August of last year.
Okay.
Excuse me, 2013. And Hooch is missing his tongue. His tongue was cut out and his ears were removed, as you can tell. He's a French Mastiff. And that's pretty horrific abuse.
Yes.
We see it very often here in Kern County.
Yeah.
I think people in rescue see it, in general, see it pretty often. But this is the first dog we've had without a tongue. We've had a lot of other injuries, many gunshot wounds, stabbings, anything you can think of. But Hooch is really a triumph. He's our kind of our mascot.
Yep.
Okay.
And we use Hooch at a variety of different places, including the Bakersfield Rescue Mission, Valley Achievement Center. So we take Hooch everywhere with us. He's kind of our mascot.
Okay, he looks uncomfortable up there. You can put him down.
Thank you, Hooch. We're so glad you're with
Aw.
us. You bet, buddy.
So he'll just hang out with me here for
Yeah,
the rest of the
that's
show.
fine.
Well, we're talking about Marley's Mutts.
Oh, Zach, he wants you closer.
Yeah, get right up to the mic. All right. I've got three rescue. Oh, now we can see him. I got 3 rescue dogs of my own. So,
you do?
so we're talking about something called Marley's Mutts with movie star handsome Zach Scow here. Zach,
The ladies are supposed to compliment me like that.
You
not the-
tell us how all this got started. This is remarkable because it's going all over the nation, isn't it?
Yeah, we're going to hit 250,000 fans today on Facebook, which is pretty
Really?
remarkable. I mean, I started in rescue about 8 years ago with the Tehachapi Humane Society.
What were you doing before that?
I was drinking
Okay.
and using drugs is what I was doing. Leading a miserable life, caught up with addiction and alcoholism and kind of getting sicker one day at a time until finally everything came to a head in 2008 and my liver failed and my kidneys failed and got admitted after a long bout of denial, trying to stay out of the hospital no matter what, despite being very yellow and very sick and very, in the throes of liver failure. So finally got admitted. I got insurance and got admitted the day I got insurance to Bakersfield Memorial and stayed there for 6-7 weeks. And then I was transferred to, actually I was broken out of Bakersfield Memorial and admitted into the comprehensive transplant program at Cedars-Sinai Medical Center, which is where I was born. And I've been a comprehensive transplant patient ever since because of my illness, because I have end-stage liver disease, or because I was end stage. I will always have liver disease, but I'm no longer that sick. So, it's been a long, crazy
I would have
road.
never known just looking at
from
you.
drugs to dogs, what was that transition? So
Yeah, it was a very interesting transition, but very natural. Dogs are what I knew before I got sick. And when I got released from transplant, when I got sent home from Cedars-Sinai, I needed to get my health back. I was not healthy enough to take a liver transplant, and I didn't have 6 months sobriety. So the requirements are various. You need to pass the psychological examination, thorough psychological evaluation. You need to be physically healthy enough to take a liver transplant. And you have to have a donor, a partial lobe transplant donor, which in my case would have been my twin brother. And you need, so I needed to work on everything, spiritually, emotionally, physically. I was completely bankrupt in all of those categories, all of those departments. I wanted to end my life. That's really all I focused on when I got out of the hospital was finding a way out. I dreamt of Dare to Be Great situations, where I'd save a kid crossing the street or thwart a bank robbery or just anything where I would be killed in the process so that my family wouldn't know I wouldn't, die as such an utter failure. And one thing led to another, and, I started, keep in mind I was incredibly sick. I mean, when you're dying of liver failure, you are as sick as a sick person looks. I mean, you are 140 pounds, completely yellow, and suffering from a variety of ailments. And my dogs are what helped me get turned around. Their unconditional love, day in and day out, every single moment of all of my physical afflictions and maladies that I was going through, they were right there, on the floor with me while I'm vomiting, and constantly there to provide support to me and provide love and look up at me like I was just the world's greatest guy. I mean, my big problem was, and I think a lot of us can relate to, is I hated myself. I have I was an egomaniac with an inferiority complex. All I focused on was myself and how much I didn't like myself. And the dogs gave me a way out of that kind of vicious cycle of self-loathing. And we started to hit the road. We started to try and walk a couple yards at a time. I was not physically able to do much. And we just started to get better, kind of one day at a time, one step at a time. Back then I had, ammonia build up on my brain as well. So I wasn't cognitively aware. I didn't have any balance. Couldn't tie my shoes, couldn't go to the bathroom by myself. There's a lot of, you're reduced to kind of almost a, infancy. You have to be taken care of, and it was a really dark time, going through from alcohol withdrawal to then drug withdrawal, opiate withdrawal, and then being as sick as I was a constant struggle. Just me, my dad, and my dogs, and like I said, one day at a time, we made it out, just walking up there in the mountains in Tehachapi.
Wow!
And, by the time I qualified for a transplant, which was 6 months. I was physically healthy enough to where I didn't need a liver transplant. So people ask, are you still on a list? Are you still on a transplant list? And the answer is no. But once you are end stage, once you've become sick enough to be an end stage liver disease, diagnosis, you will always be a transplant patient, because we either die or we get transplants. That's what typically happens. I'm kind of a medical anomaly.
You've kind of turned it upside down. The dogs rescued you.
Yes.
Yeah.
And now you're rescuing dogs.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. That is exactly what our essence is. That's precisely what happened with me. Through just they basically beat me down with unconditional love. You can't deny it. You can deny it for a while. Hating yourself is just as much of an addiction as and a pattern as alcoholism and drug addiction. You get used to it every day, looking at yourself in the mirror and finding yourself not okay. And the only way I knew how to cope with that was drugs and alcohol. And the only thing that got me out of that was the love of my dad and my dogs, where you finally kind of you just cave to it. You're showered with it, all the time. And my dogs never left my side, and I spent a long time in bed and constantly back and forth to. My dog Tug, one of my rescue dogs, didn't come back in the house the entire time I was in the hospital. So my dad would come down to visit, and he'd say, son, you need to cut it out and come home, because I can't get Tug back in the dang house. And he was worried about my dog having like an eating disorder because I was sick, because he was so stressed out. And, but yeah, we finally we got better.
So then, the saying "a dog is a man's best friend" actually goes beyond that. Just being a
I did everything with I talk to my dogs. I have. I learn with my dogs. I grow with my dogs. I exercise with my dogs. I have they're absolutely best friends, but when we can learn a lot from each other. In terms of rescuing, what I was able to accomplish in myself getting better because of my dogs, we're trying to apply to people in Kern County. So we use rescue dogs like Hooch, dogs that have been through traumatic injuries, something that would create overwhelming post-traumatic stress, situations of struggle, of incomprehensible demoralization that people can relate to. So we spend time with our dogs at the mission at Kern County. We're there every Friday. We work with Lewis, Gil, I'm sure everybody knows. What up, Lewis? And at the Bakersfield Homeless Center, and we work with the Valley Achievement Center, which is a terrific place for autistic children. We have so many friends there, and Hooch is a fan favorite at the Valley Achievement Center. So
I can see why.
See his energy right now. He's basically comatose. He does that for these kids who are dealing with autism in life, nonverbal autism, where they lack social skills and they don't understand social boundaries. Touching, talking, most of them can't communicate. So they don't get to be around dogs very often. They don't get to experience what that exchange is like because parents are worried about what could happen. They can't find the right dog for it. And along with Hooch, our trainer Liz, we've had a couple autism therapy dogs that we've specifically raised and trained. So we bring those dogs and allow that therapy to happen, that human canine bond where kids, people, learn from our dogs.
Is Hooch mostly in this? This is his.
Yeah, that's how he rolls.
That's how he rolls.
Yeah.
I love it.
A lot of people want to take sympathy on Hooch, and I don't think he's forgotten that somebody cut out his tongue.
Right. Oh wow.
And when we got him, he was half this weight, because he couldn't eat. You can't eat with no tongue. You can't drink with no tongue. You can't regulate your body temperature. There's a variety of things you can't do.
And what did you guys do to feed him?
We gave him an esophageal feeding tube. So they punch a hole in your esophagus.
Okay.
Attach like a rubber hose to it, and you get fed with a large syringe. And then finally one day he ripped that out and he started drinking out of the mop bucket at the hospital. He drinks like a horse, kind of. Because he's brachycephalic, so his bottom jaw juts out. He's got an underbite.
Okay.
So that kind of helps him scoop a little bit when he drinks.
Okay.
And then he creates a vacuum. He's suction. He's just taught himself. He tries to eat dog food out of a bowl if some of the other dogs leave food, but it's just a mess. He can't figure it out. Well, because it's impossible. You can't swallow.
Wow.
He doesn't have an epiglottis, so he can't physically swallow.
Wow. We're going to talk about Marley's Mutts in the next segment and what that's all about. But I want to ask you one question because you've been through so much.
You can ask me several questions.
Yeah, there's an old saying, and I forget the statistics that I read, but let's just say 70% of American males develop a negative self-image by the time they're 12 years old, and wrestle with that negative self-image for the rest of their lives.
Yeah.
Why do you think that is? And how do we get our kids past that?
I mean, I can only speak for me, and my I had expectations of myself. My family had expectations of myself. But I think, my own falling short of my own expectations and not being able to cope with that was what led me, and a variety of other life experiences are what led me to not being okay with myself. I was that kid on the pitcher's mound that had a heck of an arm. I could throw 85 miles an hour, but once I started walking people, I get so frustrated. I just started throwing at people, because I couldn't deal with the failure. I couldn't, and I don't want to blame it on competition. I had a very smart group of friends that were my best friends growing up, still are my best friends. And that competition is what pushed me for sure. So it's not like, the competition among my peers is something that got me so tough on myself, but it's a variety of things. I think maybe I just didn't learn how to cope with it. I didn't learn how to be okay with myself. I think our culture in general is geared for it. None of us are ever supposed to be okay. If you look at the way our culture is built up, we're supposed to be like celebrities. We're supposed to adapt ourselves to be more like them. Thinner, better looking, bigger boobs, nicer hair, better outfits. Thinner, fitter, faster, stronger. You never, it's this constant pursuit of unreachable goals.
Okay. Looks like we're going to a break.
All right.
And we'll be back in just a moment.
Jay Smith
Jay.
Group. Let's hear a bit.
I know, we know the power of love. I know, we know the power of love. It's incredible. It's so remarkable.
Introducing the Next Gen Home by Lennar. Your family is constantly evolving. The kids move out, the kids move